Tim, I think you were asked early in the season, or maybe before, about how Leonhard had developed and what he had worked on in the offseason. Whether he plays or not Saturday, what have you seen from him through these first 3 games, in particular in the Notre Dame game before he went down with that injury?
Awesome to watch him play. You know, he got tested early, he got tested often in that game, and did a tremendous job. You know, with the way things are going right now, you see how we're getting attacked, and it's just trying to create as many one-on-one situations on the outside. And you know, quarterbacks, they're not asking them to be extremely efficient against us. It's just how many big plays can we hit? And if we hit some, we're going to have a good day. If we don't, you know, it might be a struggle. And that was kind of the approach to the day. And obviously, Fan was the guy who had to step up. C's got tested early as well, did a great job, but Fan was the guy consistently throughout the game. Whether it was deep ball, quick game, didn't matter. Just thought he battled tremendous, did a great job. A big physical receiver that was using his hands and being physical with him. I thought he handled it great, and it was really fun to see him kind of take that step and have that game, you know, put that out there. And unfortunately, he had the injury, but just loved the way that he competed all day long. It's really the whole secondary. Thought the way that they did a great job. We have some opportunities we left out there, and it eats at you. But I like the way the guys are competing, because obviously we know with as well as we're playing up front and stopping the run and things like that, that's what teams have to do. And we got to rise to the challenge every week.
Jim, obviously everyone understands it's a team game and it takes all 3 phases. I'm wondering, do you have to have conversations about guys on the defense not getting frustrated with maybe feeling like we've played well enough to put our team in position to be 3-0, and yet because of some issues in other areas it hasn't come together? How do you handle that as a defensive coordinator talking to your guys?
Yeah, there's always frustration. Our players are smart. You know, they understand football. They know when guys are struggling and when they're performing well. So I think the number one thing is not avoid it, right? We have to play well. We have to do our thing. Defensively, it's one of those where you kind of have to put the blinders on. I don't care if you're scoring points or not, right? Because it changes. How many 51-48 games are lost in college football? You know, like it goes both ways, where you never know how that game's going to play out, and you kind of have to just continue to push. The more points you score, the more aggressive other offenses are against you. You know, with us struggling to score points at times, teams are playing us a little bit more cautious, and it's becoming the run kind of, and how do you isolate guys? Well, that's a big challenge that we have to step up. You know, if the corners didn't play well this game, it could have got really ugly on our side. And proud of the guys for what they're doing. We have to find ways to create more turnovers. We have to find ways to create more possessions for our offense. It is what it is. You know, I've been around a lot of games and won and lost games in more ways than you can imagine. And you know, you just have to continue to fight and do whatever it takes. Right? Do whatever it takes to find a way to get a win on Saturday. That's really the message to my guys. You know, be the ones to set the standard, right? And as a family, you hold each other accountable to it. And if you're not being accountable yourself, then you have no say, right? You don't get to talk in these situations. That's all I'm messaging to the defense right now.
Cool. You know, I'm sure it's tough to ask more of them because of how involved they are stopping the run and in the pass rush, but how would you assess how the linebackers are covering passes throughout the season? Because it seems like, especially in the Notre Dame game, depth was an issue on some of those third downs.
Yeah, I thought they've done a great job. Obviously, we're aggressive. You know, we want to play match type of coverage, so we're not necessarily asking our guys to get a crazy amount of depth and in certain windows and stuff like that. We want to be aggressive. We want to get after guys. You know, like the way that we competed. I thought they did a great job. You could tell Leo's first game, you know, but you look at the end of it, he forces a fumble, makes a bunch of tackles, and has an interception that gets called back. That'd be a pretty damn good game to be your first one and be rusty. So I like the way they're playing. You know, obviously there's little things we clean up week in and week out, but we put so much on those guys, and to see how they respond and consistently just make plays, you get really picky to ask them to do a lot more.
Sure.
Jim, we were talking to Paul about Michigan's offense, and obviously it appears they're looking to run the ball a lot this year, but he also said that they will make you defend the whole field. The quarterback, you guys saw him a little bit in last year's game. What have you seen on tape from him, and how do they also like to stretch it vertically? Do you expect that they will challenge you guys as other teams have?
Yeah, absolutely. It really is similar to kind of what we've seen from Penn State, from Notre Dame this year, where they are committed to the run. Obviously, the numbers say that they are very committed to the run game, and off of that, they understand you have to do certain things to stop and slow down the run, and they're going to create one-on-one matchups for the receivers, and they like their skill. They have a talented group of receivers, talented group of tight ends, and as good a backs as will play this year. So it's not just ground and pound. Obviously they've gotten leads where they've been able to just commit to it. They haven't really had to get uncomfortable and put much on the quarterback. That doesn't mean they can't or won't. But it's a lot of vertical shots in the pass game. They're trying to isolate corners, safeties, DBs down the field, and the scheme is there. They just haven't really had to get out of that comfort zone because they've had leads and they've been running the ball so well. So, I'm not falling for the trap that you have to go all in and stop the run because they can't throw the ball. That narrative's not true. They haven't had to yet. They haven't been forced into situations to really get uncomfortable or force a throw or force a pass. They've had leads. Their defense is playing great right now, and they're kind of just been able to stay very, straightforward in what they're doing. I know they can, and the quarterback did some good things against us last year. Obviously made a great touchdown, a couple great throws. I remember in that game, and he's a talented kid. I know we recruited throughout the process, so you know what he can do throwing the football, and I like the way they're playing their offense right now. They have an identity, they're playing physical, and they're creating the matchups they want. Anytime you do that, you have to put a great plan together to put your guys in position to have success.
This program is 9-9 over its last 18 games, which is a pretty significant sample size. And teams around this conference have gone through dips over the years. Is that all this is? And if so, how do you get out of it?
I think numbers don't lie. That's what we are right now. Can we be significantly more than that? Yes. Have we in the near past been more than this? Absolutely. So, it's on us to change the narrative right now. We have to win big games. We have to show up in crucial moments and find ways to get victories. Simple as that. Everyone in 2020 had reasons across the country. And I think I've said this before earlier this year, no one feels bad for the Wisconsin Badgers right now. It's on us to regain the confidence, right, to go out there and change what's the past has been and go out there and get some wins and, like you said, get the confidence back to where we feel like it should be. We have the talent to do it. We have the coaching staff to get it done. Now it's on us to take ownership of it and go make it happen.
Okay. Jim, with Rodas Johnson, we saw some of the playmaking ability on that strip sack in the second half. Just how has he developed, especially from spring ball and fall camp? I know a lot of people talk about, a lot of players talk about how his progression and how he stood out there, but also just what attributes do you feel that he brings to that defensive line?
Yeah, proud of Rodas. Obviously huge, impactful game. And he's a guy who brings great energy. He brings a ton of ability and been a little bit of a wild card, right? He goes rogue every once in a while but it comes from a great place, man. The kid wants to be dynamic and he wants to change games for you. Sometimes you just got to dial him in and technically make sure he's sound, but love the energy he plays with. Guys feed off of it. He's one of those personalities that you can tell, players love him being in the huddle. They love him being on our defense. So little things we can clean up, but we're excited for this season to play out and hopefully for him to get more opportunities because he has some playmaking ability and obviously he showed that and had a huge one. You'd love that to be a huge turning point in the game. So proud of the work he's put in, and you go back to the spring, you saw that energy, you saw the effort that he plays with, and he's just got to continue to build on that.
Sure.
Kind of expanding on that a little bit, you guys ask a lot of Henningsen and Benton, and it appears that Mullins has been solid for you. has that second group allowed you to give those guys enough of a break in games where you feel they're fresh late, whether either an obvious passing situation or just for a late crucial drive that they'll be good, that your starters?
Yeah, that's the challenge for any second group. I don't care what team, what offense, defense, right? You have to push to earn those reps. You know, we're not going to hand them out, and there's a number of guys that we feel have taken that step to where we feel comfortable rotating, and there's another group of guys that's really close. In order to be a great defense and play with the energy, right, that we ask our guys to play with, you need to be able to count on that group, and you're starting to see a number of those guys kind of separate. You know, obviously with Rodas making plays, Spencer Lytle, CJ Getz, you know, those guys you count on. Mike Mascalunas, right, coming out in week 1, and you're seeing the corner group, Alex Smith, Dean Ingram, like those guys' roles continue to grow. You know, Trey Blaylock's a guy we have to continue to push. He causes a turnover the week before that. So you know, that's the push with that whole wave of guys. How do you play consistent defense throughout an entire season? Is by having those guys be able to keep everybody fresh and be dynamic when you hit the field. You know, that's the challenge. You got to be consistent. You got to have the ability to make plays when you touch that field. Otherwise, you're probably going to ride the guys that you trust and make them push through. And that's the right answer at sometimes as well.
Got time for one more, Cole?
Jim, I don't know if you saw what Colin Wilder said after the game, but essentially his message was, this isn't the time to start pointing fingers, and if this loss is what it takes to wake us up, like, so be it. Is that what the leadership that you've seen from him in your room the last year plus that he's been on the field?
Yeah, I mean, Colin is probably one of the most committed. We have a great locker room. You know, you put him in the conversation of one of the most committed, you know, vocal leaders on this team. And I think everyone respects him. You know, they understand that when he talks, you know, the passion, the message needs to be heard, and he's got everybody's back. So glad he's a guy who stepped up and kind of being spokesperson for the team. I think guys would gladly allow him to be that person. So, you know, proud of him. You know, he came in here, obviously transferred and bought into everything that we're about as far as the culture and the team. And you know, I think he's done a great job of leading this group and trying to bring everybody along in the right direction.